G'day guys and welcome to a preview for Randwick on the 27th of May. Rail in the true position, and the way it's been playing lately is probably the biggest issue about the whole meeting. Trying to work out what the pattern's going to be. The fence has obviously been good there of late, and the track hopefully won't be as wet as it was and as affected as it was over the carnival, so you wouldn't imagine that there's any reason for that to change. I don't think there's been any renovation or anything publicly made aware, so hopefully that sort of fence is okay and it'll play in a decent fashion anyway. Hopefully not hard fence and crazy like it has been, but the fence may not be as bad as we're used to on these Randwick rail true position, so sort of set it up that way, and if it is down the outside, we're going to have to adapt for that during the day, because it's hard to predict that pattern really, considering what's been going on there of late. So keeping that in mind, the fence rail position, rails in run and just behind the pace is probably the best place to be. Race one for the 2-year-olds, 1400 metres. A lot of these getting to that distance for the first time. Down the line, Padraig had its first run in Australia at Warwick Farm. It was 108 days between runs, had never been past 1200 and resumed off one Cranbourne trial, and crossed from the outside gate, raced a bit fresh, even though it was a very slow tempo there, was a bit weak late. Can probably forgive it. Does look like it's going to be forced forward again from a wide gate here, and that probably makes its job a little bit too difficult. Hasn't performed on a softish track either, so I wouldn't have seen a track like this Randwick surface to this point, which is another query against it. Sambro won that race at Warwick Farm last start, had a really pretty solid setup there. Was third up after an 11 and a 1300 metre run, set outside of slow tempo and out sprinted them. Can't really knock it, but definitely probably going to have to do some work here again. May slot in. Looks like it's a 50-50 chance to find an on-pace position with cover, and can be difficult to beat if it finds it. Lord Cecil was a good winner in a strong provincial race its first start, then went to 1000 to 1200 last time. Had the pace on to assist it, but it definitely had a bias against, so bit of a 50-50 job there, and now gets to 1400. Didn't really run through the line there, so 14 is a little bit of a query, but that 1000 to 12 is not an easy step. 12 to 14 is probably easier on history, but does go to Randwick at the same time, 14, so not a great grounding for mine, 1000, 12, 14, but it definitely does look a nice horse. Icon of Dubai was well ridden last pace against, but was put into the race nice and early. Definitely needs to improve. Easy Go Easy Wins, the horse that does look the one searching for 1400 metres. Did go 11 to 13 last time, and obviously was unlucky there. Took care of Sambro in the process, even though Sambro's gone on and run well since. This is Easy Go Easy Win, 3 back the rails. No chance to build his momentum here. Off a slow tempo, has to come to the outside and check, and really has to wind up late, and really does look a nice horse. You see him sort of through the line. He's the one that had all his full head of steam up, while the others look like they may be peaking on their runs. He's the one that looks for 1400 metre, probably get to a mile. Hopefully the pattern's not too severe here. He finds a midfield position with a bit of cover and exposes himself, and he's the one to hold out. Heliosphere looks a very interesting debutant. We were on him at the big odds last start, hoping that he'd run around at about the 40 or 50 to 1 mark. He probably looked an easier race. Got his leg up in the gate there and went back to the trials, and trialled well since. I've skipped past Kementari there, who was very good on debut in a fast run race. Did have the right run on the track, but I think the winner was pretty solid there, and I think the horse that nutted him for second is Angel's Boy. Goes to provincials at Newcastle and will run well there. I think that was a pretty strong race. Gets the tongue tie, the right gate to lob on pace again, and certainly is capable of improving at only its second start in a race. Probably the logical danger actually to Easy Go, Easy Win for mine. African Rainbow down the bottom. Interesting horse, has had a few starts and not a lot's gone well. Jumps from 11 to 14 and has a bit of a negative rider change. But same rider stays aboard, but is coming from the provincials to town. Even though that was a city or listed race, it was a pretty weak race. So a few things against, but does look a bit of a knockout hope at odds. Weighing that whole race up, I'm just thinking if the race is run at an even tempo and the track's racing in an even manner, Easy Go, Easy Win's definitely the horse to beat. Kementari's the horse that should be up on the speed and definitely looks a bomb-proof sort of type with a lot of upside. And then we're sort of Sambro, Lord Cecil, that definitely look well produced for this role. Well, Sambro definitely has a lot better platform, but Lord Cecil looks on the up and can cope with it as well. Heliosphere, Rainbow, and African Rainbow, probably the knockout chances at odds in a good race, and an obvious lead up to the J.J. Atkins in 2 weeks. Race 2, Deep Quality Highway. The 2 horses that definitely stand out are Suncraze and Clipper. Clipper gets the right run on the speed, looks to have been set for this race, and ticks most boxes really for an 1100 metre first up effort. Has handled a 5 or 6 and does get around Randwick well over 1200 metres, so there's no reason to knock it. Suncraze is a horse that I've definitely been borderline obsessed with since its first ever barrier trial. It was very impressive on debut. Ran into 2 Mad Leaders track at Tamworth, and then a very, very slowly run race at Scone. Came back this time in and was 6-7 wide, no cover over 1100 first up, and just kept finding the line. Paraded terribly there. Has a few quirks, the horse, there's no doubt about that. Draws a wide gate, gets a different jockey. Not saying it's a downgrading jockey, but definitely would benefit from riding this horse, I feel, before. So there's a few reasons to be a little bit scared of the $2.80 about Suncraze. I'm not that overexcited to jump in the $4 Clipper either, especially when there's a few horses hiding in the wings here. Somebody first up from a Spells trial exceptionally well. It's a very, very nice horse, but has the Matthew Carl coming to ride and a wide gate, so probably gives a big start and might even come with Suncraze, which won't be an easy task. Loves a Hassle is a horse that I've been waiting to pop up. Hoped it went back in grade and could find a different pilot, but does come back a little bit in trip here. Draws pretty soft, and if it can race naturally a bit closer, could well run a strong race. I think they're the 4 main chances in the race. I think they've got the most ability, and Lalou's second up, coming off a 1300 first up, is probably the other one to watch. Very strange sort of setup for this horse, but definitely can be strong over the 11 compared to how it was on the line first up over the 13. So pretty straightforward race. I think Suncraze will probably win, but definitely can parade poorly. Could have the pattern against it. Collett riding it for the first time. There's a few things against it stop you taking the price, but it's hard to bet against it at the same time. Maybe something tiny on somebody at 15 to 1, and Loves a Hassle at $15 also might be the play, but I feel like I was throwing money down a well. Probably box the 4 in a Quinella and hope that one of the roughies pops in there and you might get a result. Race 3, 3-year-olds over the 2,000 metres, and another deep race that they don't get any easier most of the day, really. Sizzling Bullet is well and truly proven at this track and distance. 5 weeks between runs now, and going up 400 metres is an issue, but it is a very strong one-paced sort of animal, and has had a trial since that last mile run. Big weight and a wide gate don't make its job any easier, but it does have a bit of quality and is tough. Obscura is not a horse I thought I really wanted to find, but his win was solid enough last time against Open Class 1. Horses gets the right gate. It's hard to knock the horse, especially around the $15 mark. Tumultuous, just honest. There's all you can say about it. I don't think it's a real winning possibility, but it will be about and around the placings. Garban's definitely a winning hope. 15.50 last time. 46 days between runs. Senior rider goes on this time and definitely can improve out to this trip. I think they're pretty keen on the horse, and I think it can run a race on the way to possibly going to Brisbane. And Lord Macau led and ran honestly in the midweeks last time. Looks the leader again here. He gets good scratching in Woodok coming out, and we'll give him something to chase. I just don't think he's got enough to hold on to kick away from these horses. He'll probably need a really solid pattern in his favour and a really well rated ride to give him a chance here. Prometheus is a horse I've been in love with since his first and second start. He kept running into slow tempos and bias tracks. He finally sort of got up outside the tempo last start and put away a good field over a mile. I know the horse that he beat comfortably there came out and won well today, pretty aggressively yesterday at Gosford. So that's obviously a step below this, but once you know that he's broken through Prometheus, he's definitely up to winning better races. It's just a matter of where he gets to from gate 13 with the rider change to Mitchell Bell. I think 7-2 or whatever his price is probably short enough. If he was 10-1, I'd definitely be backing him, but around that price is tough. Cross Stitch definitely has had a good grounding for this race. Sat outside the leader last start. 21 days between runs looks ideal off a tough run and can definitely improve. I don't think there's a lot between any of those, and wouldn't surprise me if anything popped up like the Harrovian or even Mandalay Bay coming up from Melbourne. It's just a really evenly graded race for mine, and I think it should be $6-7 the field for sure. And if I played, I'd be playing tiny and possibly on horses like Garban and Cross Stitch, who are both $10 plus. $14-15 for Garban should be achievable, and $10 plus for Cross Stitch. Race 4. Signposted improves with racing, probably needs one more. Just going down the page again this time. So Willie Gets Back needs luck. I'm pretty surprised it's $5. It's coming out of races that probably suited and were a bit weaker than this. It obviously had the right run first up when it beat Stampede. Second up, it had the glorious ride, fast tempo, and pattern to suit the way it came through the field there, and a bit of unlucky behind the two other runners in the race. Did a good job last week, but again, every possible chance came along the rail. Was held up a touch, but maybe looked a bit better than it was. I think it's the one that you want to bet around at the $5 mark. It's definitely the horse I'll be betting against from the wide gate's going to be getting back last, and it'll need everything in its favour. It's a Schmozzle, an underrated horse. Unfortunately, that they just will not put a city rider on to match the horse's ability, but all fair play to them for their loyalty. Not a horse that I can find with confidence, but definitely wouldn't surprise if it ran a really solid race. Multifaceted had the dream run first up in the perfect spot there. Obviously ran well, stays at the same sort of trip, and I just don't see that suiting. Probably $16. I don't want to knock the horse, but I'm definitely not going to find it. In Costa Line, I thought was a perfect effort last week to really back up and springboard into a good performance here. A little bit surprised it backs up on the 7 days, but definitely have to make it a winner at the 10-1 mark off that effort. I think it's really ready to go now, even if it's not my main play. Spider-Man I thought was exceptional in the Scone Cup. It was 45 days between runs, 2 starts back, then stepped up to the mile last start. Wide chasing throughout, very difficult to do in that sort of grade up to a mile. Really never gave up and really ran a strong race. I think it either leads here or stalks a couple of leaders in King's Garden, and I think there's another leader, signposted, drawn both 1 and 2, that hopefully will kick up if they decide to play games. I'm pretty sure that they'll just go straight to the front on supply and demand, and will run a very positive race. Definitely the horse to beat for mine. It's definitely got the most quality. Kingsguard was okay, fresh, real one-paced, pretty limited type for mine that's an each way chance, but nothing too scary. I think Chandana's the main danger in supply and demand. Everything it's against its last two starts, and any luck and the pattern to suit here, it can definitely win, especially if those three up front decide to get along. I thought it was a very good effort last start against a pretty strong bias, and is ready to win again. South Sonic's an interesting horse, obviously going to give them a start, and definitely can improve. Not a lot of luck last start, and if you can run on, it's the one for me. That's why I find it hard to find horses like So Willie. I think if a horse is going to run on, it's going to be South Sonic to go past these horses. I think a pretty good little race. I'm hoping that Supply and Demand in Costa Line press forward, find positions, and Chandana and South Sonic are the swoopers. I think they're the four chances in the race, and all probably depends on the pattern to how I'll be playing them, as in staking wise, if I'm making them all a winner, or if it is on pace, I'll probably be more aggressive towards Supply and Demand and in Costa Line. And then if it looks like it's swooping, I'll adjust that around and maybe make Supply and Demand a saver, and Chandana and South Sonic the main winners. So very dependent on pattern this race in particular. Race 5, and again another deep race, probably the hardest race of the day for mine. I didn't think that anything really stood out. I think Siren's Fury's airborne, if you forgive that last start where it just did something funny at the start. Didn't look like it ran the trip out. Comes back in grade, gets a nice little claim from Brock Ryan and gets into the race not too badly. Obviously going to give a start, that's its pattern, but it can run on and win if the track's suiting, that sort of thing. I think 1400 is a definite positive, and I think the soft track will be right up its alley over this trip. Brulé should have won last start, there's no doubt about that. Has to be ridden quietly, gets the senior off and apprentice on an inside gate. Will need all the luck in the world, but definitely has the ability to win this race. My True Love was okay first up in a soft race at the Provincials. Definitely harder here, but probably more suitable. In what I'm saying there is that the 1400 back to mare's grade is probably a good trade-off off probably a good grounding first up effort over shorter. So if it can get to the front here and dictate, it can definitely improve, but I think it's definitely well enough found around the 5,550 mark, and probably eases unless it's a mad on-pace bias. Istria's just an honest horse for mine, 28 days. Between runs, an each-way hope. Not much more to consider about that, probably around the 10-1 chance. Kawakini is backing up after going back in distance last week. I think back up to 1400 looks okay here, soft okay. And it's another one that's probably going to give a start and be wide. From the gate 14, there's not much other choice there. So we'll need that pattern in an open race. Noir, no luck at all last start. 200 metres extras, interesting. Looks like it'll run it out off that run. The rider change is obviously not ideal, but does look to map well and should run positively. How Sweet It Is has been okay at the 2 runs back. I think it'll roll forward and find a position here, and that's probably enough to give it a knockout chance. How Lisa does look ready to me, a bit of hidden merit in its runs. This time in, 17 gate, it does have a bit of temp pace if it wants to use it. It's all about tactics and probably the way the track's playing to how they ride this horse today. And gate 17, Luke Curry's not ideal, but I think we'll be getting 40-1 to find out how well she really is going, and she will be going around a winner for me. Can Dream just was a tragedy beaten last start. Definitely a horse on the up. I don't know why they keep showing so much loyalty to the rider, who has just been brutal on a number of their horses, but you've got to play with the hand you dealt as a punter, and with a rider change, I'll be extremely keen on this horse. I think 1400's a positive. I think it's got really strong ability, and $21 seems a good price for a horse of this nature. Sea Bloom's well set up. Class rise obviously an issue, and 1400 metres does seem its upper limit. We'll go back and need luck and run a solid race, and stablemate Hittite was really good off at first up. running a fast race, improved nicely second up, and does definitely look a horse that's improving and can continue to improve and can't knock it at the 21 mark either. I've got no idea here. I think Siren's Fury is the best horse. $8.50, gun to my head, it's the horse I want to have something on. The way the track's racing is obviously a big issue. I'm not too keen on chiming into a horse like My True Love, especially at its price. Brule looks like it has too many things against. Maybe Noir and Albalisa, who has plenty against as well at the odds. I really see myself probably playing small in the race, making Can Dream, Albalisa, and maybe Siren's Fury winners. And depending on the pattern, I will be to how much I have on the betting on the race. If you can make ground, I'd definitely be making a few solid winners here. Definitely Siren's Fury, Albalisa, and Can Dream would all be going around winners for me. Race 6. Closer inspection, this race is actually not as deep as I probably thought. Nudie Rudy up the top's just an honest type. Gets the right sort of run up on the speed here, but doesn't seem to really relish softish tracks, and I'm not sure that Randwick's its best option. Heavenly Anna's suited back to Randwick, loves the soft, 1200's a positive, and definitely can improve. $8 or $9 probably the right price for it. Yuma Desert's not a horse I go out of my way to find, and even though Il Mio Destino below it is flying, it's not either. I think Inner Wink is an interesting horse. There does look a bit of pressure here, possibly. And if they do overdo it, this horse, even though it's going to go, back in the field and need a bunch of luck, could go around 100 to 1 here and can run a really honest race. Magica Dreams is an honest type, going well, needs all the favours to win races. And then we get down to the two fillies down the bottom in Siskin and in Times of War. They really do look to dominate this ability-wise. I think Siskin's the horse that I want to be with. It's drawn inside in Times of War, who will probably roll forward. I'm sure Siskin will be in that front bunch as well, but probably looks a little bit more adaptable than in Times of War. Hopefully they can both sit somewhere just behind the tempo, and they probably fight it out if that's the case. I'd want to be with Siskin in a tight go. I think it's the stronger of the two. I think it's got the most upside, especially strength-wise, and Siskin clearly on top for me in this race. In Times of War, some sort of danger, but definitely hard fit and its best chance to get a strong 1200. Just hope it gets a bit of a cover there at some point. And then we go to Inner Wink at odds as the knockout, but I'll probably Siskin with a little bit of confidence here. I really like the horse from In Times of War, Heavenly Anna, and Inner Wink at the big odds. Race 7, not much to be seen here really. We've got Magical Stance, Allergic comes up pretty much close to joint favourite with Broadside. Allergic's coming through, 3 weeks since it ran very well in the 2,000 metre race behind top of my list. They went really solidly there, but did get home quite well and ran good time, so plenty of merit in this horse's run first up for 7 weeks that day. It gets back up to 2,400 where it's been beaten a length and a half in a Group 1 race at that level. It's raced it's a Group 3 winner over 2,400 at Rose Hill, Group 1 place getter over the 2,400 around here on a heavy 8, so no problem at the distance, no problem at this track, and really does look to have plenty of class on the rest of the horses. Definitely gets a weight to match that, there's no doubt about it, but that is deserved. Broadside's the interesting horse. Sat off a really fast tempo last week, like right behind it, really fast tempo, and ran strong time and really dominated there with a couple of tough staying types running into the placings behind, which showed what a solid staying test it was. Has to back up off the 7 days, go up in trip and up in grade. Not easy to do, and definitely couldn't chime into it at the price, but it definitely looks a winning chance. Beyond Thankful looks a possible improver due to the setup here, but hasn't done its best for quite some time. Big Blue 2 runs back have been just okay. 21 days between runs and up to 2,400 looks okay for its profile, but hard to have any confidence about it, and don't want to knock it around the $14 mark either. Richard of York's are really limited, but tough staying type and will whack away. Multitude looks honest. 24 days between runs and a trial in between is interesting, but should get the right run to run a positive race. Probably a place chance. And I thought Plot Twist was the definite value runner. It's going to go around about 50 to 1 here, and I can definitely at least entertain it for a place. I think it's about $9-10 a place at the moment, and it's definitely the one that is getting to its peak fitness-wise, hasn't been terrible, and will enjoy the step up to 2,400 without doubt. I think it does have a little bit of upside and hidden merit in its performances, so it's the definite danger, it's the definite value for me, Plot Twist. Allergic and Broadside, the 2 main winning chances. I wouldn't be surprised if Big Blue, Beyond Thankful, and Multitude were up there and do have the scope to improve. Just think that Allergic and Broadside probably have a little bit too much firepower for most of these, and Plot Twist to each way, having a lot more the place than the win, looks the value option for me. Race 8 looks a bit thin. A few horses out of form and a few horses out of fitness level here. I thought the main changes down the page again were the Cordon Bleu, who just ran in a walkathon first up and had no chance given the tempo there. You consider that a barrier trial, and if the pattern of the track is down the outside, it gets promoted heavily. Badajoz, Machine Gun Jubs and Upscale down the bottom look the 3 that from soft gates look to land on a soft tempo and could well dominate from that position. Badajoz first up, it's trialled quite well. No real knocks on it. It does look well placed, 1,100 metres first up around here from that gate, as long as that inside is okay. Machine Gun Jubs was just an enormous effort last start, ridden back cold, chased home in times of war, and Bonnie O'Reilly's obviously won again since and stamped what a quality horse she is. Machine Gun Jubs was off a decent break that day, so can be improved fitness-wise, and even with a senior jockey in a low weight, just looks really well placed from that gate forward to sit a little bit closer this time and be strong again. Upscales just appears off the 1 trial, looks the leader possibly if it wants that position. If not, it'll be close enough to that position. If it's fit enough, it'll run a positive race too. I think those 3 really can dominate the tempo unless a horse like the Monstar or something decides to come out ins and out and clap on a bit of speed, which really wouldn't be to their advantage either. So it's a funny little race. Badajoz 5-2, Machine Gun Jumps 4-1, and Upscale 4 or 5-1. There doesn't look a lot of value there either. So not a race I'm too excited to play in, but I'd probably be paying 11, 12, 13 in the quaddie and throwing the 4 in if the pattern's suiting horses that can make ground. Last race of the day, Magical Stance first up from a 245-day break. Same trainer-rider combination as Can Dream earlier in the day, and again the apprentices aboard. This horse is possibly one of the unluckiest horses in Sydney. I think it's had 25 odd starts for 4 or 5 wins, 4 wins, 26, and probably could have had another half a dozen. He's a quality horse, resuming off a long enough break. Has trialled up okay, but from the middle draw, big weight, and the apprentice aboard probably can risk it today, but wouldn't be knocking anyone who wanted to throw it in quaddies. High Mist was very good first up, or is one-dimensional in its riding pattern. Will get back, loses Bowman, which is obviously a big loss, but it does look well placed in this grade and has plenty of upside on a lot of these horses, dangerously so actually, and could well and truly round them up. If there's strong betting move for this horse, I would be very aggressively saying follow suit, especially with the apprentice on. If the money comes, I'd say this horse is airborne and could nearly just round them up, even beat a bias. It's got that much on these if it's in good form. The Bull's fitter for a first up run where it just weakened a little bit late. Leads are outside the leader here and will run positively. I think Fig Tree's a bit of a hidden one, just doesn't quite go as well inside horses, and when it was forced to run through the pack last week, never really got wound up. If he can get to the outside here, and showing what he's made of. He can run a big race at odds. Wanker's just had the perfect run last two. Bowman's just given it the peach rides. Now goes up to 14 and comes to Saturday grade. Not sure about him and really think the sort of $4.20's a touch short, if anything, but definitely can win. Level 8's honest, gets back. Not the ideal pilot for mine, and not sure how big a start he can give to some pretty honest types and beat them, but he definitely is going well, and around the $13 mark I'm not really keen to knock it either. And Imperator Augustus, 32 days between runs, will probably need a leader's bias to get home. At close inspection this race, it's not an overly strong event. I really think the $7 high missed is probably a good price. I think there's other value. I missed talking about Final Decision. It's definitely going far better than its paper form reads, and I think they went up ridiculously, about $81 or something like that. I think that's been snapped up, but it can definitely improve. The Fig Tree can improve also around the 25 to 1 mark. And then you've got horses like the Bull Magical Stance, Wanker Level 8, that all can run positive races, but I couldn't really step into them. Forced to have a bet here. It's definitely high missed, and possibly Final Decision each way at big odds. So let's a quick look at the card. Hopefully there's a few races there we've identified some decent betting propositions. It is a tough day. One horse I did want to mention in Eagle Farm was race 3, the size produce, a horse called Quiji, Qiji Phoenix. He's come across undefeated from New Zealand. Really dynamic on-pace type that looks like it'll just get through this going. Just hopefully gets across without absolutely burning the candle from the 22 gate, and he'll run you a really positive race around the $8 mark in the size produce in Brisbane. Good luck, guys, and hopefully everyone has a really solid day. And what does look tough, just be very patient. It's probably my best advice for the day. Thanks, guys.